Could Max Verstappen's current Red Bull deal really be his last in Formula 1? The double world champion signed the longest deal on the current grid at the start of last year, when he committed to Red Bull until the end of 2028. And he's hinted he might not sign another one, raising the prospect, however slight, of him walking away from F1 at an unusually early age. As we get into this topic, let us know in the comments when you think Verstappen will walk away and what he should do after F1. And if you like what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. The contract Verstappen signed before last year started was a new 5-year deal on top of the one that already ran to the end of 2023. It came after Verstappen declared in the wake of his 2021 world title that he had no reason to change teams and wanted to stay with Red Bull forever. At the end of a dominant 2022, Verstappen said that the deal to 2028 was down to loyalty, being happy with where I am and being happy with the people I'm working with, and really believing that we can be competitive for so many years. But he's also admitted that he might not sign another deal beyond that, with Red Bull or any other team. Verstappen will be 31 when his current deal expires, and he doesn't know if he wants to keep racing in F1 beyond that, especially as the calendar continues to expand. In the short term, Verstappen is not daunted by that demand. He even said after winning last year's finale, if you're not prepared, then it's better to stop already. The indication was that for now, he's happy to make the necessary commitment. Longer term though, Verstappen views the idea of too many races and being away too much as something that will eventually become a turn-off. He's aware that one day he will balance things up and decide it's not worthwhile, and a key factor in that will be how competitive he and his team still are in 2028 and what his personal circumstances are. Verstappen is already one of the most successful drivers in history, as one of only 17 to have won more than one world championship, and with 35 victories, he's already 6th on the all-time wins list. The current Red Bull contract gives Verstappen the chance to win at least 6 more championships and dozens of races, and though there is no guarantee of further success, he could become F1's most decorated driver in history. Verstappen has never seemed particularly motivated by statistical success, and even said after winning his first championship that he had achieved his career goal, so anything more would be a bonus. But if he's still capable of running at the front and his team has given him the machinery to do that, Verstappen's competitive instincts might not allow him to just walk away when there are more races to win and more titles to fight for. Verstappen entertains the idea of walking away from F1 earlier than many might expect, partly because he wants to do other forms of racing beyond F1 while he's still competitive. He's particularly keen to move into endurance racing when his F1 career ends, to satisfy his interest in the discipline and also keep racing, which he obviously loves doing, with a friendlier schedule. Verstappen's been a regular competitor in endurance events in sim racing, although that might change after his recent outburst during the Le Mans virtual race, and he clearly wants to sample it for real. He regularly drives GT machinery to keep sharp, but it's probably prototype racing that Verstappen is keen to get stuck into. He says that it is mainly endurance he wants to pursue after F1, and that will need to be with a competitive car in which he can fight for wins. Verstappen has previously mooted the prospect of contesting the Le Mans 24 Hours with his father Jos, and entertained the idea of teaming up with two-time world champion Fernando Alonso one day as well. Sports car racing is at the beginning of a major revival at World Championship level, as the Le Mans hypercar regulations have stoked massive interest from various manufacturers including Porsche, Ferrari and BMW. Although Verstappen wants to make sure he's still in his prime when he moves into that arena in the real world, there is less time pressure to enter the discipline. The different demands of high-level endurance racing mean that age is less of a barrier than in F1, where drivers tend to peak slightly younger. That means that Verstappen could make the switch even later if he did decide to extend his F1 career beyond his current deal. Were Verstappen to walk away at the end of the 2028 season, it would be the youngest age a multiple world champion has made their final start in F1. Given the circumstances are hardly comparable to Jim Clark, as his career only ended when it did because of a fatal crash, Verstappen would be years ahead of what would be considered a normal retirement age for this calibre of F1 driver. The youngest multiple world champion to call it quits on their terms is Mika Häkkinen, who took a sabbatical when he was 33 and never returned. Generally, F1's best drivers race on until the chance of success disappears or fate intervenes. 9 other multiple world champions raced on into their mid or late 30s, while some lasted even longer. And while Juan Manuel Fangio, Graham Hill and Jack Brabham are from an incomparable era, Michael Schumacher's brief comeback with Mercedes in the 2010s extended his racing career until he was almost 44. Of course, there's a current example or two for Verstappen to aspire to if he wanted to prolong his career as much as possible. Alonso's just finished another F1 season aged 41, and based on what he's saying about his Aston Martin move, may well keep driving for years to come. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, looks like he could continue past his 40th birthday too. Verstappen sounds like he believes there will be an earlier cut-off for when he would rather prioritise things outside F1. That's partly what has prompted Sebastian Vettel to retire at 35, although a key factor to consider is that Vettel wasn't winning races anymore. Walking away from the top would have been a lot tougher than walking away from the team that was 9th in the championship when he made his decision. Where Vettel and Verstappen are similar though is that Vettel achieved an awful lot at a young age, and there is an argument to be made that the rewards of staying in F1 are not quite worth the sacrifice if a lot of personal and professional boxes have already been ticked. Ultimately, while it is interesting to hear Verstappen even suggest the prospect of an early end to his F1 career, a lot will happen between now and what is nominally the first possible exit point. Only when we're closer to 2028 will it become clear what Verstappen wants, to us and crucially to him.